Um, here's a good question that won't be part of it.
Yeah.
So, what does a typical Sean Askew day look like?
Oh, not too much. I sit in the office, have a cup of coffee, and drive around a bit.
So it's fun.
It's fun, glorious.
It's
Yes.
fun, right? And what are the people you work with like?
Oh, great place. Pretty good
Yeah.
in terms of the context of planning. It's a nice young team, keen to do some improvements. So it works quite well. Are these questions that you're going to use, or not just?
No, I'm sort of just.
Okay, cool.
Well, let's warm up anyway.
Yes,
because,
yeah.
And so, because I mean, yeah, we'll move slowly towards slightly more meat and potatoes. And I'm still kind of checking the cameras. I'm going to
Okay, cool.
press stop and play on this one. So let's stop them both. And
We just need some context. So I'm Sean Askew, mechanical engineer by trade, with a couple of other recognised in other things as well. I'm Sean Askew, mechanical engineer by trade. I'm now with Water Services here in Bundaberg and heavily involved in planning and process and asset management. I'm recognised as a certified Scrum Master in the lean process and really use that to deliver this project, to operationalise our assets. So we started about a year ago on this venture to embark on digitising our field staff, which on the surface sounds like quite an easy thing to do, but it's really difficult once you get into the complexities of how the business operates. So this project we started was to digitize our field crews and to turn essentially our paper-based operations into digital operations. It started a year ago, and we initially started, and it was quite varied, and we had to stuff that one. Yes, we started a year ago on this project, and it was a real challenge in front of us. We had everything in paper, and there was just paper left, right, and center, multiple people entering data. If you asked someone what was the workflow or how did a process work, you'd get different answers from everyone. That was the starting point, which we really had to navigate through before we got into asset management and capturing accurate data. So before digitizing, we had all the field staff essentially came into the depot, received their paperwork packs, went out into the field, completed them, and then returned them to the depot. All of these paper packs were created by schedulers and administration staff, which was really a massive overhead. They had to print it, fill in specific information, package them up for the work teams, put them in their trays, and they would come collect them. Now, when the teams go out in the field, they would need to complete these forms, of which some of them had data or fields which didn't need to get filled in. So you asked yourself the question, if you knew which fields do I need to fill in, then you would complete some of them, return them. The supervisor would need to check through them, and if there's any data missing, they would need to give it back to the field crew. They would need to go back out. And that didn't even include if they lost the paper on the job, not intentionally, but we're working in the reticulation space. There's mud and everything going on. So how do we capture all that information? So in the good scenario, the paper form came back, filled in completely wonderful, everything was there what we needed. We'd then give it to an admin staff who would type the information in another system, and then it would get filed, and the paper would all get stored in a box, and the box would get put in a room. If we had to ask ourselves some questions like, where is this job? Who did it? What happened? Was there any safety incidents with it? Those questions are extremely difficult to find out, because we'd go back, we'd have to run through all the paper, we would have to ask different people on who did it, and we now have the ability to link things to assets, where previously, which asset did you work on? You might have originally gone out just to fix a hydrant, but now you worked on a water main as well. So the teams would often just package it up together. So it was a real challenge to give us the ability to manage our assets on an operational level and not on a financial level. We respond to incidents in the community regularly for reticulation. So someone will phone in and say, I have no water. Our teams need to respond quickly to restore that water service because it's critical. In previous scenarios, we would have the work come in, it would go out to a field team, but we have no context of what was getting done, how quickly it was happening, or if there were any problems. Now we might get a couple repeat calls for that same incident. We're able to look in the system and see, okay, we're addressing that and provide the community with better service by giving them the accurate information in the right time. So they feel council better understands their problem and is able to support fixing it quicker. I got handed this problem, or I shouldn't say handed.
Presented with this challenge.
Yes, our branch manager, she was really good in navigating a path to get this project across the line. And then I got handed to deliver this project with the high level outcomes of we want to digitize our field staff and we want to move from a more reactive space into a planned space. That was the high level brief that I received. And I said, okay, coming from a construction background, I understand the very safe, secure waterfall process, which a waterfall was a new term to me essentially, but having a lot of experience in project management and engineering, we thought the only real way to do something generally is to specify it up front, give your requirements, then do some planning and design, thereafter go through implementation and maintain it thereafter, which between infrastructure and IT is very similar. When I received this brief and started to just brainstorm and think, how am I going to deliver this that provides value to the business? And had a look at the two approaches, waterfall and agile, there was just too much risk in waterfall to actually proceed if we're measuring against business value. And where we want to be in 3 months' time might be completely different where we want to be in 2 years' time. So how do we do this change successfully, engage the field staff, ensure there's business value in a manner that supports the business as we're growing as well and providing services? Waterfall is a real segmented, logical approach to project delivery. So we start with defining our requirements. From those requirements, we do a design. From the design, we implement it. And then we, in a software space, deploy the solution, or in infrastructure, we commission it and start to use it. And then the maintenance runs thereafter. The challenges with that is once we get to implementation and deployment, we find out that there's more value that can be added here, or a process needs to be refined. And what has to happen is we've got to take those values and learnings and stick them back in the system and redesign it and reconfigure what we've already done. So it results in a lot of rework. The waterfall process also takes long. So we'll only see benefits in about 1.5 years. And what happens in that in-between space is that we don't have any product or anything we can use. So the risk is we have all this work in progress and all this money that we're paying, but we don't see any value out of it or can test anything against it. So we carry risk on that front. And as the project manager, on infrastructure, you can physically see things on the ground, so you can validate it, where on the IT space, it's a lot more difficult to do that. And I just didn't feel comfortable accepting that risk to provide this outcome for the business if I wasn't able to see it in iterations or sprints. So in Lean, what we do is we prioritize what provides the most business value first in terms of tasks, and look to complete that task as a whole and then move on to the next one. It gives us benefits because you don't clog up with work in progress and things that keep churning and don't give deliverables. We see it in many teams where you get so many actions or things to do and they're doing so much work, but they're not really outputting that much work because they keep getting new things. And the work in progress just gets massive. And soon it creates frustration not only to the business, the team leader, but also the staff involved. Lean, if I'm not mistaken, started with Toyota in the manufacturing sector and then progressed to other areas. I suppose I always knew about Lean, but in terms of Lean and software, I only discovered that when I did some Googling and said that this waterfall approach is not quite right, what else is out there? And then I came across different agile methodologies and further researched in those, and then went on some courses to essentially upskill myself to deliver it. Yeah, I think like Lean, Six Sigma, and all of those have filtered through the business. I don't think I suppose Lean has many names, and it's really just been branded in a few industries with different names. Yeah. So Bundaberg Regional Councils, they're really promoting innovation, and innovation requires trust and the space to do new things, which is challenging and often doesn't involve going the standard path that everyone else has walked. So this project, doing an agile, lean software development within a council, was high risk. The business gave us the opportunity. We are supported from IT and management, and they trusted us, and we now have a solution that's working for the field staff. Bundaberg Regional Council has been really good with innovation and supported us on going this journey. When we took on software development, there's a rumor or a stigma with software that these things blow out. No one knows what's going on. The business trusted us, and we used the lean agile approach to mitigate that risk of cost blowouts, to make sure we developed a product that is usable after 6 weeks. And essentially the rest is history. So Bundaberg is a regional community, and being regional, there's a whole bunch of challenges in terms of transport, specialist skills, and being in that environment really drives innovation in the area, and council's looking to support that and seeing what opportunities are there. Opportunities are often masked as challenges. So when we have challenges, we see, okay, what resources do we have? And the people and skills we have in Bundaberg really come up with some amazing opportunities and innovations for us to work from and leverage off. So Bundaberg is a great place to live. We have so much to do outside of work, not only with a good agricultural industry and some manufacturing, and essentially they call it the food basket of Australia. So we have those benefits going for us. Also on the southern tip of the Great Barrier Reef. So if your hobbies include things like fishing, four-wheel driving, we have all the city things as well, like movies and malls. But it's really a lifestyle choice, which is great to live here. Great for young families, lots of open space. So we started the project and identified that lean and agile is the way to go. To do that, from a project management point of view, I said, let me get skilled, and I went and became a certified Scrum Master, gained some experience, and then decided, okay, we are going to use this on this project to deliver value to the business. We started by welcoming the vendor on board, and one of the things which is critical in lean is communication. So I roped the vendor in to do some training as well with the project team, and we trained them on the Scrum Agile methodology to clearly establish what it is going to look like and how we want to deliver it to provide the best outcome for council and also for the vendor itself. So we started doing the training with the team, and 3 weeks after that we kicked off our first sprint. And the first sprint really is just 3 weeks where we say, this is what we're going to do, and we do it. We have a few planning sessions to decide what needs to happen first, and at the end of those 3 weeks we have a product. So in the training, for instance, we developed a poster. We said, you've got to advertise some dog food. At the end of the sprint, we need to have a poster that hits a few key objectives. And in the training, it only ran for 3 hours, and at the end of it, there was posters for dog food. And while a strange analogy, the software was essentially the same. We had 3 weeks. At the beginning, we set some objectives, some things we needed to meet. And after those 3 weeks, we had, here's some software, go out, use it, give it a try. And that process repeats itself, and we gradually build a product that's better not only for the business, but also for the people who use it. Because after 3 weeks, we have the opportunity to have a look at, do we still need to do all these things that we've said, or do we need to add some new things that we've learned along the way? So we provide this product after 3 weeks for someone to use, and they say, I'm struggling to find out where to go on my jobs. Okay, well, let's give you address and the facility that you're going to. So after the next 3 weeks, the user now sees that appear on his tablet, and he now knows exactly where to go. He feels valued because someone's listened and done something to the input that he's given, and the product's got better. So that happens not only from a people point of view, but also from a business. So one of the drivers we had was, we have water interruptions that happen quite often. So we naturally started and put a water interruption, call it an action in, something that someone does and gathers some information. And a couple of sprints later, we said, we would really like a report to focus on one specific detail. Is it planned or unplanned, and how long were they notified? So with a simple tweak, which probably took half an hour to an hour, we were able to give everyone this report that had never been done before. And it was only because we were able to deploy that solution that someone could see it and say, oh, what about this recommendation? This would really provide value. And they could start to ask the right questions and give us the right. Lean worked because we weren't mature enough to know exactly how everything needed to work when we started. We did not want to recalibrate the business and do detailed workflow processes that we would change in 3 weeks' time. We wanted to build something that would grow with us. So when we started on this journey, we knew things are going to change. So what we build needed to change with us. And that was the starting point.
Yeah.
Lean is very challenging because you've got to focus on what you want to achieve. To do that, we had a vision, and everything needs to be measured against the vision. If you don't stick to that vision, what you end up doing is adding many interesting sort of tasks you need to achieve, but don't contribute to that vision. And that's where the risk lies. So if you have a strong vision, strong governance to know this is in, this is out, then you can clearly navigate a path forward and be very successful very quickly.
Okay.
When we went to market and we're looking for someone to partner with us to do this solution, we had some key things we were looking for, and flexibility was one, and exposure to this lean development cycle where the client was involved. So there were off-the-shelf software solutions which would do it for you, but those were already pre-configured and expected a level of maturity of which we weren't at. Now those products were excellent, but for us, we weren't ready for it. So we had to partner with someone who is willing to grow and to go through this journey with us. So the problem we had to solve was we needed to change everything in paper and get it digitized, as well as create a
Did you
work.
make it?
When we started the first sprint, we gathered all the forms and the worksheets that the teams do, including the work instructions.
Real problem that I can touch. What is it?
Okay. When we started the first sprint, we had to find a way to give work. So an example of a problem we tried to solve in the first sprint was, let's say we had a water leak, and the old process was we gave someone a sheet of paper which told them what to do. They took it, which had the details of the water leak on. They went out into the field, fixed the problem, completed the worksheet, came back, gave the worksheet to admin, and someone had to input it in the system. Now, the problem in that which we wanted to solve is that paper process which could take a week or more, and we wouldn't have information on where the field team was, where that leak was, what status they were up to. Could we send someone else to support them? And how do we tell those other people what's happening on the job to bring them up to speed so when they got there, they can support quickly? This process is what we wanted to refine. And to start, we wanted to make the data live. So someone in the office or the team leads on their tablet or phone could see where the job was, what status is it, who's working on it, and what are the activities they're busy with. With that information, we can clearly communicate, this is how long it's going to take to fix, this is the crew that's busy on it, this is what's currently happening. That can all happen just looking at a screen, not phoning and running around and trying to track down paper on what was done. So that information is now available to the team leads as well and to the schedulers to see these two crews are tied up with this work. What else is there? It also gives us the hindsight to look back and say, wow, we do a lot of water repairs, water main repairs. How do we reinvest in our assets to decrease that number and free up space for our crews to do other work? So at the start of the project, we wanted to find out, what did we do? Now, we knew we repaired water mains and replaced meters, and we knew all the activities, but how much of each do we do, and when do we do it, and where do we do it? So after a year, we're able to look back and say, wow, what has happened? What did we do? And we had some really interesting results. We found out that our water meters are it's a critical asset, but not recognized in the financial register because they're such low value. We spend 40% of all the actions we do are going out to repair and replace water meters. That's compared to all our other assets of water mains, valves, hydrants. That information wasn't available to us. What we can now do is target a renewal program, and it's far more efficient to replace 20 water meters in one go than one at a time. So having this information has empowered us to put in a new renewals program to target the specific areas where these water meters are failing. We know exactly which areas they are, and we have details on why they're failing. So we could now look to improve that. Yeah, so software is a fantastic tool that enables you to do so much, but it's really down to the people. And we were supported with really good team leaders. We had a change program which ran concurrently to equip them, because the first thing you're going to see when introducing change is resistance. And how do you lead your team to overcome that resistance? Most people don't enjoy doing new things, and I would stick myself in that bucket as well. If I don't particularly enjoy doing something new, if I don't see value in it, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. So the tool is only as good as someone who uses it. So to pair the two together, we empowered the people. We had the tool which supported the empowerment through this lean process and agile development, so we could engage them. Their feedback was used, and it also provided good business value, because they had some really great recommendations which often don't get heard, and we can now put it into the system. So one of the surprising results we found is on water meters. And when we go out to replace one water meter, it generally involves 20 minutes travel time, and the job actually only takes about 5 minutes. The crews are really good at getting the job done quickly. We reflected on all the information we collected over the past year, and it told us that 40% of the work that was done was on water meters. And it wasn't a targeted program where we would go out and replace a whole bunch in one go. We would go one by one, and that was purely because we didn't have visibility, not because essentially the service delivery team didn't know about it. This information has empowered us to now do a replacement program where instead of having travel time 20 minutes, yeah, so software is a fantastic tool that enables you to do so much, but it's really down to the people. And we were supported with really good team leaders. We had a change program which ran concurrently to equip them, because the first thing you're going to see when introducing change is resistance. And how do you lead your team to overcome that resistance? Most people don't enjoy doing new things, and I would stick myself in that bucket as well. If I don't particularly enjoy doing something new, if I don't see value in it, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. So the tool is only as good as someone who uses it. So to pair the two together, we empowered the people. We had the tool which supported the empowerment through this lean process and agile development, so we could engage them. Their feedback was used, and it also provided good business value, because they had some really great recommendations which often don't get heard, and we can now put it into the system. Bundaberg Regional Council has great team leaders and people who really want to improve the community and work hard for their neighbours. This drive and commitment really empowered this change. They led the way in terms of leading the teams, getting everybody on board, because a tool is only as good as the people who use it. And they've been brilliant in upskilling their teams, their friends, on how to use it and how to get good information back to help Bundaberg Regional Council and Water Services make better decisions on their assets, and as well as the processes in the business to provide improvements to the community and better services. Being a regional community is also challenging in terms of the people we have, and we're not big like the cities, so we have to work with what we've got, and it's very fortunate we have a great team with us. We chose to do it ourselves to give us the benefit of being able to guide our own path. We engaged consultants and experts to give us some advice along the way, but we were able to provide a solution quickly with a small team. My immediate team that delivered this was only 3 people. Being in a regional community presents its own challenges, because we've got to be self-reliant in what we do. The team I used to deliver this project was small. It wasn't massive, with hundreds of, or maybe not hundreds, but tens of staff to support me. We had a small office which was next to our service delivery team. In there were 2 team members which supported gathering information and worksheets, and then we had 2 people from the vendor side support us. and we did this project as well as business as usual. So DIY development is where the business unit develops the solution. In previous projects we've worked on, you would have a consultant and a project manager and a change manager, all then reporting to, let's say, the product owner or stakeholder who wants the solution, and you have 4 people involved in trying to get a solution across the line, which is communications difficult most of the time, and now we put 4 more people involved. So the DIY solution is really, here at Bundaberg Regional Council Water Services, we needed a solution. Who could we partner with to give us the solution? And let's do it ourselves, get some learnings from it, and we'll be much smarter in 2 years' time than we are now because of what we've learned along the way, and also the experts that have contributed in our development and the development of the solution.
Yeah.
The long-term benefit of us doing it is that we can provide services that are specific to our community. We are different to a city, we are different to big centers, and developing a solution from, let's say, the bottom up, from our field staff who know the environment, who know the works on the ground, and who know the community, we're able to get something that's more acclimatized to our area. The moment of relief that I felt was after 6 weeks, where we gave it to our field staff and they started using it, and everything happened. The biggest risk to me was we give them a product and no one uses it, it doesn't work. And the fact that at 6 weeks, I was able to say, our team has delivered this, please go use it. And when I arrived, there were no utes in the depot. The people were out. Yes, there were some really minor niggles, but everyone was out, and it almost felt a bit like business as usual, which was just shocking. Definitely not. So the amount that we learned from 6 weeks and continuing on the people using it, we are able to refine the product, make more improvements, listen to what the staff said, and make adjustments, not at massive, crazy amounts of money. We're talking 2 to 3 days work to make these changes, and they could see them on the ground. To find out from the teams, I asked them for user stories. And like most people not in the software background, they'd be like, what is a user story? So we had a quick presentation where we told the guys, this is a user story. It's short, it's simple, and if I hide it behind my back, you should be able to tell it to me. And we got them to give us the user stories. So at the beginning of the project, I told them to tell me what they wanted, and we got all the user stories, and that formed the basis of our design initially. Throughout the process, if they were using the software and found something that was strange, put in a user story, let us know about it. Let's see how we can fit it in or package it up with something else to make a better product and solution for our service delivery. So we started with our reticulation team, and they do most of the work on the underground pipes. After 6 weeks of essentially, we deployed the solution. They've been using it for a while. We had so many learnings. They gave us all those user stories, and now that we're rolling it out to mechanical, electrical, and treatment teams, we follow the exact same process. Guys, tell us what you want. Let's hear it from you. Can I see your user stories? And then we can build a product from there. So our reticulation team, they've been on it for just over a year. We've put our mechanical and electrical teams on it as well. We're moving to our treatment, and we currently have our trade services who do like building repairs and maintenance. They're ready to go as well. So the user stories are still coming in, and we're still able to make those adjustments and improvements based on what the guys have said. To date, within a year, we've had just over 900 user stories requests, of which we delivered about 650 of those. So that's, if you think of the amount of work that's gone in, it's amazing from the team and also from the user stories that we've received from the field staff. On the project, one of the challenges from the field staff was, how do I know what has been done on this asset? So if they go to a hydrant, for example, who worked on it previously? Are there any special notes regarding accessing? And what is the condition of it? Our previous systems, it was a huge challenge to try to find that information, as you could understand with paper-based systems. So call it the work management solution we implemented was not only focused on purely work ticketing and knowing about what is happening, but also let's get smarter in what we do with our assets and what happens to them. So, for example, we don't want to go repair something a week, say today, and then in a week's time we go and replace it and put a new one in. Where in the previous system we didn't have that visibility of knowing we repaired it a week ago. Also the example, for instance, on an electric motor. The previous system didn't give us a flange size, but when going out to doing some work, that flange size is really useful. And the guys in the field can now access that asset and give it a flange size. We have a field for it. And those improvements to tell us, I want this information on this asset, is what we can support in user stories and this type of project.